We're now starting Chapter 3, Electric Current. As you saw, electrostatics are very, very limited in how practical they are. One spark in the right place can do a lot of good, and storing electric potential energy in a capacitor is always nice, but ideally you'd be able to use the electric potential energy, not just store it. So let's move on to the study of electric current. We've talked a little bit about voltage already. Voltage is electric potential energy per unit charge. It used to be called electromotive force, which is a very, very silly name for a voltage. It is the second biggest shanta in physics, second only to centripetal force. It's not a force, it's a voltage. That's why we call it a voltage. In any case, this one isn't quite as silly as centrifugal force, which wasn't a force. Someone had the idea that voltage is the reasons why electrons move. It is the motivation for the electrons to move, like the force behind their motion. Only not, because it's not a force. But if you see people writing voltage with a curly E instead of a V, that's what they're thinking. In any case, voltage is measured in volts, that is joules per coulomb. Where do you find voltage specifically? If you had to go and get yourself a source of voltage, where would you go? Would you plug something into the wall? Sure. Well, where's the wall getting it from? Would you get a battery? Possibly. Where's the battery getting it from? Would you want something a little greener than both? Probably a good idea. Here's what we have. DC stands for direct current, and DC voltage sources include every kind of battery: alkaline batteries, lithium-ion batteries, nickel-cadmium batteries, lead-acid batteries, you name it. Fuel cells, solar cells, and piezoelectric cells, which are pressure-sensitive materials that give off small amounts of electricity when you squish them, which is great for touchscreen technology. Squish it and it generates electricity. Tap, 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 tap. There are my electrical signals. You'll notice everything in the cell family is DC, including batteries, which are two plates of metals suspended in an acid. The acid is there to serve as a catalyst for a chemical reaction by which the electrons flow off of one plate and onto the other plate. When the chemical reaction has moved all the electrons that can be moved, the reaction is over and the battery is dead. This isn't the greenest technology in the world, but hey, it gives you a source of electric potential energy in a nice little package. The wall outlet and all of its relations, the power lines that deliver the power to the walls, and the power plants with the generators that are made by spinning turbines, all are AC, alternating current. How do you spin the turbines? Well, this is where the energy technology is at. You can burn fossil fuels, or you can have wind spin the turbines or water spin the turbines for you. Look at the big picture window on the third floor overlooking the sort of informal pond up the stretch of 294. You'll see wind turbines. Look at any U.S. history textbook. You'll find that all major cities up until this point had to be built on the water. Let's see, what's another good way to boil steam to spin turbines? I know, nukes! Stick nukes in the water, it'll boil like anything, and you can use the steam to turn the turbines. What's the difference between direct current and alternating current? Let's take a look. This is direct current. This is the voltage coming out of a 9-volt battery. What you see is what you get. 9 volts now, 9 volts 3 seconds from now, 9 volts 3 minutes from now, 9 volts 3 months from now, unless of course the battery is dead, in which case it drops down to 0. Exactly what you see on the can, what you see is what you get. Alternating current is very different. Alternating current looks more like this. It says 120 volts coming out of the wall, but watch that meter. As you watch, the 120 volts drops to 80 to 40 to 0. What are you paying for? Nothing? To negative 40 to negative 80. Wait a minute, are you paying them to give them electricity? Negative 120? This is nuts. But before you can pick up the phone and call ComEd and complain, the voltage is rising again. It's rising and rising and rising until it swells back up to 0. But if you just wait, it'll go back up to 120. And there it goes. It fluctuates back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. How often does it fluctuate? Well, American AC is 60 hertz. That's 60 times a second. So I wasn't quite being serious when I said you had the time to notice or the time to pick up the phone and call the power company. You don't, because it's fluctuating too fast for the eye to see. The only time that you really can see the voltage fluctuating is that cool optical illusion on the highway, where if you're watching the cars go by under the streetlights at night, it looks like the wheels are rotating backwards. They're not really rotating backwards, but the flickering of lights at 60 times a second is providing strobe effect. You're only seeing part of the wheel's rotation illuminated every time the wheel makes a circle, and this is unique to highway speeds in urban areas just above the speed limit. You can see almost a full cycle illuminated. Not quite, but almost. That's why it looks like the wheel is rotating backward. If you take videos of any kinds of screens, this effect will be a lot easier to see. You can see the refresh rate on your screen because it doesn't match the refresh rate on your DV camera or your phone, which is why videos of TVs and computer screens don't come out so well. That's the difference between DC and AC. Yes, you'll want to pause and back up and make sure you had those graphs. So, what's the deal with the current? We're saying that voltage hopefully will contribute to some form of electrical current. Electrical current is written with a capital I. Don't blame me, I didn't invent it. Current is the idea that the electrons are moving and they keep moving. We want sustained motion. Moving electrons is what we call electricity. Current is measured in the change in charge over time, in coulombs per second. You can picture it as the rate at which the electrons move round and round and round the circuit. And that's a good model to picture it. It's not strictly true. If you can picture the number of electrons in a big solid copper wire, you can think the atomic number of copper, start with Avogadro's number and go from there. Googolplex of electrons in the first 6 inches of wire. That electron at the back of the line is never going to get to the front of the line. It's not going to happen. It's just too crowded in there. What's really moving round and round the circuit is actually the electric potential energy, as per the voltage above. But you can picture the electrons running and running and running, just like we're going to do in class on Thursday, if it's easier for you to visualize. In any rate, the amps of current, 1 ampere is 1 coulomb per second, tells you the rate at which those coulombs get transferred. Electric current is potentially dangerous because your body runs on electric current. That's how your nerves send signals to your brain. Well, we'll see in Physics Expo, the biophysics team is going to be doing the physics of human beings. You've got sodium ions, which are positive, and potassium ions, which are, well, they're less positive than sodium ions, so they're at least negative by contrast. One rushes in, one rushes out. The charge changes from positive to negative. The signal gets sent, and off we go. That signal is sent on the scale of single milliamps. So anything less than 1 milliamp is not going to interfere with your body's electrical signaling. You won't even be able to feel it. By the time we get to 5 milliamps, that's going to hurt. And your body is going to complain, hey, I was using that channel. Stop going rah, 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 on my channel. 10 milliamps causes muscle spasms. Basically, somebody has taken over the communication channels of your body to send signals from your nerves and your muscles to your brain that go, and I quote, okay, says the brain, you know best. That's the signal that the nervous system uses. So if you want me to go, then I will. And you get those muscle spasms. By 15 milliamps, the problem is very serious because these signals are louder than the signals that your own muscles and nerves would send to your brain. So you have now lost control of some of your muscles. Your nerves can't get through on the normal electrical channels they use because they've been taken over by this enormous 15 milliamp signal that's bigger than your body's own natural signals. And that means you can't stop. This is particularly dangerous if you've grabbed a hold of something that you shouldn't have grabbed hold of. Watch that frayed insulation on electrical wires. If you can see the copper poking through, don't turn it on and don't touch it. Leave it be, because if you grab it and you get electrocuted through something going wrong, you're not going to be able to let go. By 70 milliamps, this signal is strong enough that it can stop your heart if for more than 1 second. This is really going to be fatal. It's going to send such an enormous signal. It's the equivalent of whacking the big red button on your body, and all muscle function, including involuntary muscle function, including your heart, is simply going to stop. At this point, you're legally dead. The situation cannot get any possibly worse. So what do they do in the movies when somebody accidentally whacks the big red button? It's usually some big dumb blonde hero with a big square jaw hits the big red button. Bleep, bleep, bleep. This evil battle station is going to self-destruct in 10 minutes. So what do the heroes do? They run around, they scream, they panic. Come on, you know what the heroes do. Sooner or later, somebody, usually the chick in the leather catsuit with the PhD in engineering, which somehow hasn't improved her fashion sense, she's going to whack the big red button a second time, and sure enough, what happens? The whole system resets. Brief self-destruct system error. Please re-enter the password, and everybody's saved. What do we do for your body? We do the same thing. Picture those defibrillators that the EMTs use. You've seen them on TV. You may even have seen a set hanging in Shoal in real life. You see the parallel plates in the capacitor? What do they say? Charging up. That's right, they're charging the capacitor. And then they yell, what do they yell? Clear. AKA, we're going to send a huge electrical current through this dead human being on the floor. If you do not wish to be a dead human being on the floor, to get away, because this electrical current is going to flow. They put the paddles, they put the plates of the capacitor on either side of the heart. Only way from one to the other is through the heart. Zap! They send a huge signal. That same 70 milliamp signal that stopped your heart in the first place, in hopes that your brain goes, whoa, whoa, what was that? What was that? Oh my gosh, what was that? I have never seen a signal that big before. Oh my goodness, what was I doing? What was I doing? Oh, yes, I had that heart beating and lungs going and all those things. Wow, what was that? Well, let me get that heart beating and those lungs going while I think about what that was. Whoa, that was freaky. Is it guaranteed to work? No. Do you have anything to lose when you're legally dead on the floor? No. So they try it. And if that doesn't work, what do? Clear. Zap. They try it again. They try it a third time. They try it a fourth time. By 5 or 6, you're really kind of running out of hope. Does it work all the time? No. Does it work some of the time? Does whacking that big red button sometimes restart the system? Yes, it does. So it's worth trying. So, our goal for next Thursday when we meet next is to figure out what you need to generate a current. Our goal is to start the electrons moving and keep them moving. If we can keep them moving continuously, then we will have a good electrical current to work with. On Thursday, you will be the electrons, and if I can offer you some motivation to keep you moving, then we'll be able to figure out what a current needs to run. Get a preview in your Chapter 23 reading, which you'll do tonight. See you then.